How are you?
Doing good. Thank you for having me on. It was great to be on XM Radio earlier today talking Liberty basketball on the Big 12 channel, and even a bigger honor to be on your show today this afternoon.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do appreciate you being on. And again, there's not too many schools in the country that are as hot athletically. And I wish I was going through Lynchburg. I could take you up on your invitation you had on Sirius this morning and stop in and check out those facilities because they look fantastic. And again, not too many schools in the major sports, football and basketball, that are as hot as the Liberty Flames. No pun intended there. Let's talk a little bit about your basketball team. This is one of the games that a lot of people around the country that do this kind of thing, they pick the brackets and try and help everybody out with their upsets. This is one of those hot games. People are saying, hey, take a look at the Liberty Flames for two main reasons: three-point shooting and that defensive philosophy that comes out of the Tony Bennett coaching family that obviously Richie McKay is part of.
Yeah, there's, at least in my opinion, two major questions that always get talked about first when the selections are made at 6 o'clock Eastern on Selection Sunday each year. It's number one, what number one seed can make it all the way to the Final Four? And number two, what's one of those early round upset potentials? And Liberty happens to be in this game on Friday with the Pokes, and it can be one of those games that people circle on Friday. And back to your original point, Liberty averages about 12, 13 threes a game. They run a pace that is not breakneck. So for some of those teams that want to go up and down, Liberty, if it gets defensive rebounds, it's going to walk the ball up the floor, and it's going to get a great shot. And one thing Richie McKay, the head coach, talks about is not judging our success on whether shots go in or not. It's what kind of shot are we getting. And if you have good players, they're going to make shots. And so that's kind of the offensive philosophy for Liberty. And defensively, Coach McKay spent a lot of time with Tony Bennett at Virginia before he came back to Liberty. It's his second stint as the head coach. A lot of people don't realize that. He was the head coach from 07 to 09. And Seth Curry, Steph's younger brother, was on that team at Liberty before he transferred to Duke. And then Coach left to spend some time with Tony Bennett at Virginia before coming back 6 years ago. So, and they do run that pack line. It's been very successful since Coach has been back here.
You know, and I'm going to try and go rapid fire with the question so we can get as much in with Alan York as possible, the voice of the Liberty Flames. Like you said, Richie McKay he'd been a head coach some other places. He'd been a head coach at Liberty, and he leaves being a head coach to be an associate head coach at Virginia with Tony Bennett. I kind of liken that to going to get maybe a graduate degree, like a lot of professionals do in the middle of their professional career. They take a step back, either do a sabbatical or they go and they get an advanced degree. And I don't think there's any doubt, and I want your answer to this, but it appears when Richie McKay came back from that stint at Virginia for his second stint at Liberty, he's a better coach.
100% agree with you, and he would say the exact same thing. When he was here the first time, it was, run a gun, put those threes up, let's score 100 points, and hopefully we outlast you 199. And I'm sure there was some games like that. It was the year he left before was the first year I got there in 2010 and 11. So we missed each other by about a year and a half when he was here the first time. And when he came back, one of the first questions he was asked at his press conference was, are you going to bring the pack line? And the coach said, absolutely we are, and we're going to win with defense. And, watch Virginia. I mean, they won the national championship 2 years ago. So they're still the reigning champions. And their style's not pretty, but, pretty points doesn't win you basketball games. Defense does, and good players. And so coach doesn't care how they win it as long as they win, but they're going to win with defense first, and you're not going to play in this program unless you check the ego at the door. And, Liberty has shown to have a penchant for high-scoring games as well, but that defense is the calling card that's going to get the attention.
You know what? Love Darius McGee, Player of the Year in the conference, leading scorer. Understand the value of Chris Parker at the point. Kyle Rote, I heard you say it today. He's kind of the glue guy that keeps things together. And Blake Preston's a young, guy. You got to have a big guy, and he certainly, averages almost 9 points and over 6 rebounds a game. So he fills that big guy. But you know what? For a team that wins with defense, I can't take my eyes when I'm watching Liberty on tape. My favorite player is Elijah Cuffey. If somebody said, okay, you can pluck one guy off that Liberty team, who do you want? I said, I want the Cuffey kid.
Yeah, Elijah grew up in West Virginia, transferred to Liberty Christian Academy, which is our prep school connected to Liberty, and has had a great career. And wasn't always a defensive guy coming up, but he told us a story, back during his freshman sophomore year when he kind of turned the corner defensively, and he's taken pride in that. I mean, his offensive numbers are up this year. To the point where they haven't been in his career. So he's having a great senior year offensively, but he's a defensive guy, and he's going to get the Cade Cunningham assignment, in my opinion, on Friday night. And we'll see what he does with Cade. And it's not going to be just him. I'm sure they'll, hedge and protect other people on Cade, because you got to find a way to shut him down if you can. No team has done that yet, so it's easier said than done. But Elijah definitely is one of the main defensive stalwarts on this team.
Yeah, and there's a reason Oklahoma State is seated higher. There's a reason, now some people around here would say we're not sure that the committee seated him quite high enough, and that's going to be, that's a point in Oklahoma State's favor. They're walking in with a chip on their shoulder. A lot of times teams that are the higher seated team might walk in like, well, we know we can win this one. No, Oklahoma State's mad. They're mad. They got a 4 seed and felt like they should have been at least a 3, maybe a 2. And so you're going to get a team with a chip on their shoulder. But when you look at Oklahoma State, the one thing, if I'm Richie McKay and I'm Cuffey and I'm that entire Liberty lineup, I look at that turnover number, average turnovers per game, and I start going, really? This is the NCAA tournament. You have to value the ball in this tournament. If you don't, you're in trouble. And this team is really, that's been the one thing they've had a hard time curbing, is their turnover issue. And I'm going to guess Liberty's going to try and take full advantage of that.
Yeah, well, they certainly should. Just looking at stats alone, Liberty coming in, they're the third best team not to turn the ball over. So depending upon where the style of play is predicated on Friday night is going to go a long way. I think maybe limiting possessions. If you limit possessions, because Liberty doesn't turn over the ball, and you want a team in Oklahoma State that is going to try to go up and down if they can. So I think that contrast of styles is definitely going to be something that we'll watch. And the interview circuits I've made, today and yesterday, people have said, "Hey, what's going to be the difference?" And I think if Liberty can get some shots to fall, early on, just to get that confidence, and then you get Oklahoma State, which is going to want possessions, and Liberty's not going to allow many. So it's shooting percentage is going to be definitely a favor, a stat that needs to be paid attention to. Whoever shoots the ball better, as cliche as it is to talk about, I think is going to come out the victor in this one. And Liberty doesn't play a style of play that's going to really force turnovers that much. So if Oklahoma State is not careful with unforced turnovers and giving Liberty the ball back, then I think that's something that could go a long way to benefit Liberty on Friday night.
Again, Alan York, play-by-play voice for the Liberty Flames. I promised him I was going to come back with a football question here at the end, but we're sticking with basketball. And as you look at it, you haven't called, correct? You have not called any games in person, I guess, on the road this season?
Correct. We've done most of them from my basement at my house. Thank you to Hardwire Internet Connection. A few of our broadcasts we have done from our studio, but have not left Lynchburg in a while to do a basketball game. Did a few football games on the road, but basketball has been exclusively here in town.
Okay, so you are going. And
Yes, we
here's
are.
the cool thing. Um, the the arena that they're playing in, the Indiana Farmers Coliseum, and when I saw that, I researched it the other day. Has a huge history. It was a WPA project under Franklin D. Roosevelt. Helping America get out of the Depression. It was built for $1 million, renovated back in I think 2014 maybe for
Yeah.
63 million.
Mm.
But the cool thing is, in 1964, the first time the Beatles toured America,
Wow.
John, Paul, George, and Ringo played
Oof.
that building. The only
Wow.
time they ever played in Indiana. I just think y'all are, the only thing that might have been better is if you were playing in Hinkle, which is the home of Hoosiers and
Yeah.
the movie and the original game. Um, but that's pretty cool. So I'm jealous. That's going to be a pretty cool place to play, I think, on Friday night.
It will, and we're making preparations to be there, and hopefully we can get some TV effects feeds from CBS, TBS, who's going to carry the game on Friday night. And for history's sake, it is kind of cool. We were in a tournament a few years ago out in Nashville, and it was an older Coliseum that the SEC tournament is not played in anymore, and just the history, in the back hallways with wrestling events that were there and concerts. It's really cool for those fans tuning in about the history of these venues that a lot of our fans don't know about yet.
Yeah, I'll tell you the coolest place, and you probably have called games in some interesting venues, but I called a USBL team, United States Basketball League team, the Oklahoma Storm,
Mm.
and we played, play all over the country, but played at Long Island University in Brooklyn back when they played in what used to be an old theater, and you had gargoyles in there, and I actually called the game from one of the balcony, kind of things in the theater, and I mean it was crazy. I mean, and that was the Blackbirds home court at the time. I think they've switched since then, but you've probably seen a few good venues out there in calling games for Liberty.
Yeah, there's been a few, and there's been some bucket list places we've been able to broadcast in. Even my career before Liberty, I was at High Point University for the Panthers in the Big South. Liberty moved out of the Big South a couple of years ago to go to the A-Sun. And but it's funny, though, you talk about these different venues that we all have stories. I mean, you and I could sit and talk for hours about, let me tell you this story. And it might not even be about calling it at Rupp Arena or Gallagher Iba or the Lloyd Noble Center in Norman. It doesn't matter, although I guess
Well,
we don't
Allen
talk about it.
Fieldhouse. The first time I called a game in Allen Fieldhouse, I got to admit, I felt the ghost of James Naismith. And it's funny you bring that up. Dave Hunziker, who will be, John Holcomb will be there in person in the
Yeah.
building. Dave will call from here. And he used to be the voice of Radford. So he has a lot
Yeah.
of friends back in that region.
Yeah, we caught up with Dave about an hour ago and
Yeah.
spent about 50 minutes doing a video chat, which we'll post on our social media channels. And he took him down memory lane as well with his memories of calling games at Radford, which is just outside of Blacksburg, where Virginia Tech is in our part of the world. But it's good to see Dave and kind of see where his career has taken him, and he's excited about the matchup, as we all are. And the main thing we want to do is just glorify God with what we do and shine light on our university, which is the largest Christian university in the world, including our online program. And it's a really cool place and just budding success in athletics. And I know you might want to talk a little football here in a minute, like you said, but just thankful for the opportunity to be in the tournament once again and, just compete with some of the best teams in college basketball.
Yeah, and you brought up, the other day when you and I were talking last night, in fact, I brought up Hugh Freeze, and again, football is always, big talk around here. Oklahoma State played Hugh Freeze's Mississippi team that went on probation, actually went on probation for a few of the players that were involved in that Sugar Bowl when we played against them. The one thing I really, if you might bring up, hey, coach, I talked to a guy from Oklahoma State. He still is burning from that tackle eligible play that you guys used when you had a big lead in the Sugar Bowl. Uh, but you said, truly, and you're close to him. Hugh Freeze is really not only rehabbed and built a really outstanding program at Liberty, but he's rehabbed himself.
He certainly has, and there's a lot of opportunities he's had to go coach elsewhere, but for him being a Christian man and wanting to, resurrect his career, this has been a great fit for him, and he can talk about his faith and what it means to him, and coach football at a place that is just thirsty for success. Liberty has had a lot of success at the FCS level, and in 2017 got a waiver from the NCAA to move FBS without a conference invite. And so Liberty, since 18, has been competing as an independent and has won back-to-back Cure Bowls down in Orlando the last 2 years, and have 16 of our fifth-year seniors coming back to use that extra year of eligibility, including our quarterback Malik Willis, who's got some national attention. So 2020 was great, going 10-1, but 2021 is going to be one that is going to put Liberty even more on the map, even if they're not right now, which I know they are, globally with what we're doing. But a lot of people on the gridiron will be talking about Liberty football. And yesterday, we had wins over number 14 North Carolina in baseball and over number 13 Arkansas in softball. So the first time ever Liberty Athletics has had two teams beat top 25 ranked teams on the same day. First time in school history that's ever happened. So it's a great time to be watching Liberty Flames athletics, and good to be talking to you on the radio as well.
Well, Alan, we appreciate it, and again, look forward to the game on Friday. I've been impressed. I jumped in on the team meeting call right after the selection on Saturday or Sunday rather, and was impressed with the players. Had a chance to talk to. I know there's another one coming up this afternoon. Get a chance to talk to Coach McKay, but I do appreciate you coming on with us. Enjoy your trip to Indianapolis, and we'll look forward to a terrific game on Friday.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate the time, and look forward to catching up down the road, maybe.
All right, Alan. Appreciate it. Maybe someday Liberty and Oklahoma State get a football series kicked in. Who knows?
Hey, that would be great. We'll see what we can do about that.
So, all right, Alan York, again, the voice of the Liberty Flames. And